Good morning, everybody. It's Victoria Lorient-Faibish, holistic psychotherapist, registered psychotherapist, and on this stunning Toronto morning, I just love it when it's sunny. It's got a beautiful vibe here in Toronto. And I'm way up on the 20th floor, so I can sort of see an expansive view of this beautiful city of ours. And hi, Brian. I just wanted to talk about, this thing. I woke up thinking about this. Let me talk about friendship today, not just love relationships, but friendship relationships. And those are really, they impact us immensely. And I see in my office, I talk with my personal friends, I talk with my clients, I talk with all kinds of people, professional contacts, about the concept of friendship. And it can provide us a tremendous amount of nurturing. It can provide us a tremendous amount of pain. And it's largely something we learn from our family of origin and family culture. And how does our family culture do friendship? And I really like to, when people come into the office with difficulty around friendship, either making friends or constantly feeling disappointed by friends, or friendships that they blindside them, or friendships that are their family members, like their family, they become a family experience. I really like to say that the fastest and most the quickest way to deep disappointment is to misplace your expectations, is to have the kinds of expectations of a friend that the interplay hasn't indicated that is merited. So I like to go about the business of having people do sort of a personal inventory of all the different friendships in their life and sort of categorize them. A group, B group, C group, D group. And each one of those groups is actually quite important. But A friend, so it's important to determine who your A friends are. Those are your, those are your sort of life and death friends. You're going to call upon that friend to come to the hospital with you if something is happening, or life events, or those kinds of things. And you're lucky if you have one or two of those people. Some people come up in their 20s and younger years, 20s, 30s, thinking that those friends are going to come with them through their whole life. And the truth is not so much. That's not actually how it goes. Friends tend to change as we change. Life changes, and then friendships change. So I say, let's look at all the people that you have that are A people. And those are the people you're going to have A expectations of. But then there's the B people. And the B people could be possibly people who were A people, and you found that they were not as maybe trustworthy as you thought, yet you deeply, deeply really love them. So they become your B people. And then your C people, I would call your beloved acquaintances, and then the D people would be obligation friends. I don't know, your boss's spouse, or I don't know, people that your spouse's boss, or something, that kind of thing, where it's an obligation, where you need to be polite, where you don't quite like them, but you do need to be very respectful, and periodically even socialize with them. But based on the category that you put them, and then E people are people like, that you have, these are just, I don't know, the bank teller, just people you see on a regular basis, but have no relationship with them. And these different categories, I like to put them in terms of circles. So A in the middle, and then B, and then C, and then D, and then E. So these are people that the closer they are to the center, would be the people that you have the highest exchange of expectations with. And then as you go out, you have less of an expectation. And then C, you have almost no expectation other than common courtesy. And then E, you have no expectations either. And then, and so it goes. But I find that this process is very important to take that inventory, because I find that a lot of people will have, and I've done the same thing. If you don't do the inventory, you don't know. A lot of people will have an A expectation of a C person, and they haven't determined them to be an acquaintance. They keep thinking that these are really close people, but in fact, they're your party friends. And, you know, I've done that. It's like, oh, these are my party friends. These are not my close friends. And you have to really determine that. And you have to deliberately determine that, because if you don't, people do make the error of thinking that this person who potentially was A, then we had to devolve them into B, but then really they became C. You've got to change your expectations as that person gets put further and further down the way in a different group. It doesn't mean, you know, that you don't see them, but it means that you have a very different relationship in terms of your expectation level, which I think is really important to determine correctly. And I don't really believe in wholesale amputation when people disappoint you. A lot of people do. I don't. I think that amputation should be reserved for the very toxic, you know, people that are, I don't know, that are abusive, that have serious addictions that are just impossible to manage. And so those are the people that you need to really sort of cut them out and amputate them out of your life. But I would say that I would recommend not amputating people wholesale. I would recommend, you know, just putting them down in terms of a category where your expectations are less and you are still in a relationship with them, but it's a different kind of a relationship. It's a more distant relationship, or it's a more acquaintance-like relationship. And then what happens is that your soul becomes a little bit more at peace regarding this person. But if you're just amputating people that are disappointing you or not living up to your expectations, life's going to be kind of small down the way. You're going to have no people in your life. And I think that, you know, life is richer with friendships, and life is more challenging, more interesting, more community-oriented when you have different kinds of friendships in your life. And I think that that is a powerful tool to have you be putting people in the right place in your life. So you're not disappointed constantly, and you're not having A expectations of C people or B expectations of D people. No. And the other thing I just want to say is that in friendships, one of the most refreshing pieces of a good friendship, and of any kind of a friendship, is the ability for people to have the freedom to say yes and no when they choose to, and to give people that freedom so that you yourself have that freedom. So I think that's very powerful, and to not take that personally. And to really, you know, you're going to really know the measure of a friendship when you do conflict, and you're going to see how that person does conflict. And how does that person do conflict? You know, what is the conflict level? Do they do it in a dysfunctional way? Do they do it where they want to work things out in a detailed kind of way? I would say that the higher they are up in your intimacy level, in your A group, for example, you want to make sure that those A people are doing conflict in the way that's healthy and not toxic or bombastic or volatile. And maybe, you know, your C people became C people because they did conflict in a not healthy way. So I think that how a person does conflict with you in terms of the friendship, do they just amputate as soon as there's a conflict? Do they just ghost you? The kids say today, they just ghosted me. It's like, I hate that concept, this notion of never saw them again, never heard from them again. What? That is not something that, you know, that is healthy, but it's so freaking common. So let's really look at, you know, your friendships. I think can go higher in your closer to you in your group, in your A or B, if based on how they do conflict. And are they passive aggressive when they're mad at you, or do they say, "Hey, I'm mad at you"? Or is there an experience of betrayal of trust? That clearly would be a person way down the way, CD group. But does that mean you amputate just because they maybe spoke about you or gossiped about you? Is that grounds for amputation? I don't know. I don't think so. So these are the things to think about. And I talk a lot about that in my books, Find Your Self Culture, Moving from Depression and Anxiety to Monumental Self-Acceptance, because I find that people will experience a lot of anxiety around friendships and a lot of fear around friendships. So I do talk about that. And also, of course, my second book, Connecting, Rewire Your Relationship Culture. So I talk a little bit about friendships, actually quite a bit about friendships in there too, because sometimes what we learned from our family of origin about friendship just isn't healthy anymore. So you have to redefine how you relate to people. So I hope that was helpful to you, and I welcome your questions. Hop on over to visualizationworks.com, my website, which is a great hub for tons of information. And I look forward to speaking at you again tomorrow on another interesting, powerful topic. All right. Have a beautiful day. It's sunny in Toronto. You know I love that. Bye for now.